Hello everyone, this is Nick Perry at Schaefer's Investment Research with your chart slideshow for Friday, September 7th. Today I'm back with my weekly check of the broad market indices. In last week's chart slideshow, we were talking about this bounce off the lows here. We'd been watching that, and specifically this resistance here. I said that I was watching to see how successful the SPX was in pushing up into that resistance, and we were talking about the idea of the retest of the lows. That was something I had been looking for, but noted that there's a lot of chatter in the previous week about sort of expectations were for a retest, so it left me a little bit leery. Basically, the idea is that when everybody's expecting something to happen, the market has a way of working out differently. When we turn to this week's charts, we see that we actually did see that resistance tested right there. Basically, the SPX rallied up, smacked into that zone. That's also the side of the 50-day moving average, sort of stalled out there, and was consolidating. And with today's sell-off, we're actually seeing a little bit of a rejection. And that's what I've been talking about in the blog. The rejection so far. At this point, I'd have to say that the rejection is mild. When I look at the Dow and see it down 200 points and we're down 20 on the SPX, that doesn't feel mild, but look at it in terms of that low, we're still above that. As I've been saying, ultimately this low here, that's a major level I think for us to hold, but we're still well above that. And as far as the retest of the low scenario, that could still be forthcoming, but I think in the near term, keeping an eye on that low near 1440, I think that'll be a good measure of how to gauge this rejection. When we turn to the other broad market indices, that theme of testing resistance is also right there. The big news today, of course, has so far been the employment report. The August non-farm payroll number showed a decline. This was a surprise to what the market was expecting, and this is raising all kinds of fear. I've seen the word recession thrown out a number of times. But before that hit the wires, we had some chatter from Greenspan, who was out basically talking about the similarities between the current market environment and that of the 1987 crash and the 1998 pullback when the long-term capital debacle was going on. But what I wanted to point out is take that headline fodder and look back at the charts here. We've had this nasty decline here. We pushed up in resistance, and now we're pretty much just sitting right here. In other words, we got hit with some pretty nasty things today. The market is trading lower, but in terms of the daily chart, it's not horrible. This isn't a great setup here. You'd like to see this eventually push above resistance, but we're hitting resistance. But if you look at this little uptrend here that's in place, just sort of like that, we still haven't even broken that. So, eventually maybe things do worsen here, but I think it's, at least for today, worth keeping that in mind that, we're still relatively well off compared to where we were, say, back in this era here. Alright, as far as what I'm going to be watching next week, it's going to be this near-term low right there and this resistance. Basically, early next week, let's see if one of those is broken. I think that'll be a good indication of how much of an impact today had or did not have on the market. I think it'll also be interesting to see how today's data is spun over the weekend. In the perverse world of the market, people start talking about rate cuts and they get excited, and this is definitely already starting to build on that there should be some rate cuts. So it wouldn't surprise me by next week to actually see this report as being talked about as a good thing, because it's going to lead to lower rates. I might be completely off base on that, but anyway, it's something to keep an eye on. So anyway, as always, stay tuned to the blog for further updates, and stop by and drop me a note. Have a great weekend.